Hi, my name is Natalie Cowan. I'm sitting here right now inside a hyperbaric chamber. It's an oxygen therapy. My sister, Michelle, 2.5 years ago, had a brain injury. She was bleeding from the left-hand side of the brain, the right-hand side of the brain, and the brain stem. They gave Michelle no hope whatsoever when they brought her into the ER. As a matter of fact, they called us on the telephone and said, "Quick, come to the ER. Your sister's in a coma and she's not going to make it." Well, when I heard those words, I raced to the ER. I had no idea even what was wrong with her. I raced to the ER and met with a neurologist, and he had already taken a CAT scan of Michelle's brain and showed us on the CAT scan the result of the brain injury. And he felt there was no hope whatsoever or any hope to do anything for my sister. At that point, I wasn't ready to just accept that. She was only 39 years old. She has 2 children. She has 2 sisters and a brother, and none of us were ready to hear those words. I practically begged this neurologist to do something, anything. I asked him if there was anything he could do, and he said no. We have to accept it and say goodbye. She was in a coma by then because she had been left for hours, for approximately about 14 hours, bleeding inside the brain from 3 different areas. My brother, who is in the medical field, asked if there was a surgery that they could do, if he could stop the brain bleeds, because she had been left for so many hours that there was no hope whatsoever. So the procedure of any kind of surgery would basically not be available to Michelle. He was saying basically it was a waste of time. He said that there was no hope and that she wouldn't make it through the surgery anyways. We begged him, we pleaded for about 5 or 10 minutes. I was almost down on my hands and knees begging him if he could please do the surgery. I don't know if it was just to appease me or what it was, but he decided at that point in time to transfer her from the small hospital that she was at to a bigger hospital to do the surgery. He immediately told us, too, that he didn't think she was going to make it through the surgery. I knew in my heart Michelle had made it, that she had pulled through the surgery. There wasn't even a doubt in my mind that she was going to make it. Even though everything was against her, the odds were so much against her that she shouldn't even have been alive after 14 hours, bleeding. I got to tell you this too because it's very important. Even though we convinced this doctor, this neurologist, to do the surgery to stop the brain bleeds, all these doctors came in after the surgery was over, immediately, probably within about 2 or 3 hours, asking us if we'd pull the tubes, if we wanted to let her go. This was such a contradiction. I couldn't even understand why they wanted us to let her go after we had gone through the surgery and she made it through the surgery. They came in probably for the next 3 or 4 or 5 days, always asking us to pull the plug, pull the plug. But there's no way I was going to pull the plug. She had a tracheotomy. She had the tube in her neck so she could breathe. They took her off the life support, put the tube in the neck so she could basically breathe on her own. About 3 weeks after that, they took the tracheostomy out of her neck and she could breathe on her own. I always knew in my heart Michelle was going to make it. Even though all the odds were against her, I knew she was going to make it. Michelle basically was put in the home to do nothing, just to exist basically, because at that point in time, after the surgery, there wasn't really much she could do. The doctors said she was in a coma and she wouldn't come out of the coma. And that's the way she was going to be for the rest of her life. Still, being as stubborn as what I am, I still knew that Michelle was going to get better. In my heart, I knew she could hear me, even though they said, oh no, she can't hear. She has no self-awareness whatsoever. She never will. The left side of her brain was infarcted. The right side of her brain was infarcted tissue. And there was a little bit of tissue that wasn't infarcted in the brain stem. So she had everything against her. But in my heart, I still knew that she was going to get better. Time went on, and 2 years went by. And Michelle was actually responding to me. When I would talk with her, she would blink twice for yes and once for no. I just kind of figured that out by fluke when I was talking to her one day. It was in October of 2008. She had to be transferred to the bigger hospital to get her tube feed unclogged. And it wasn't until then that I was talking to one of the ambulance attendants, the driver, that said to me, have you ever heard of hyperbaric chamber, the oxygen hyperbaric chamber? And I said, no, the only one that I had ever heard of is the one that Michael Jackson sleeps in. And we just kind of snickered. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what oxygen therapy was. I didn't know what the hyperbaric chamber was, nothing. She says, Natalie, you better check into it. I got a hold of them and called up Dr. Ratanzi and explained to him the situation, and he said, you know what, I think she's a good candidate for her, for this oxygen therapy. So we started immediately, probably within the next 3 weeks. In the last 12 sessions that she has been going to, Michelle has actually improved tremendously. She has been able to move her feet. She has been able to squeeze my hand. She has been able to answer yes and no, blinking with her eyes, and squeezing my hand. Is a tremendous improvement over the last 2 years. Last week, for the first time, she actually spoke. It was a full sentence. Didn't make any sense, but that didn't matter. It was a full sentence. I know Michelle's getting better. I would highly recommend that with any brain injury, you immediately get into the hyperbaric chamber. You want to start the oxygen therapy right away. The longer you wait, the longer it takes for that person to get better. And the only reason, like I said, I waited 2 years was because I'd never heard of it. Doctors didn't tell you about it. They basically just said Michelle was in a vegetative state. She'd be in a coma for the rest of her life. I want to give you hope. There is hope.